Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick info before we begin. In today's video there's two stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user BubblesX1. My 27 female best friend, 26 female, turns out to be crazy and is ruining my wedding. Some background information about this girl. Let's call her Jess. At this point in her life, she's kind of a hot mess. She's one of those people who airs everything on Facebook, who has a new love of my life every month and a new best friend every few months. Her relationships and friendships usually end terribly, with both sides hating each other. I'm sure you're asking, how did you end up being her best friend? Well, she hasn't always been this way. She was relatively normal 5 years ago when I met her, save for the normal early 20s drama. However, in the last 2 years, she's lost her mom to cancer and her grandpa to old age, and she doesn't have any other family. She dropped out of school and found out her boyfriend at the time was cheating on her. After the breakup, I was acting like a shoulder to cry on since she had pretty much hit rock bottom. A few months later, she was telling everyone how close we were and started tagging me as her best friend. Then a few months ago, I got engaged and unbeknownst to me, she started telling everyone she was my maid of honor, even though I've always planned on making my sister my maid of honor. But this was right after Jess's mom had died, so I just improvised and said I would have 2 maids of honor. It's still not what I would have liked, but I literally couldn't bring myself to tell this poor girl I don't consider her my best friend. That was my first mistake. Then about a month after I got engaged, she met a guy. 2 weeks later, she was engaged. A week later, she was married. A month later, she was divorced or separated. I don't know if it's legal yet. I don't know if anything was legal, but she changed her last name and is still going by that, so I'm guessing it was legal. Now, ever since the divorce, my own wedding planning has become unbearable. She is constantly telling me how marriage doesn't work, love can't save things, etc, etc. On top of that, she criticizes how much I'm spending on my wedding when she had hers for a few hundred. Vega's wedding. It's gotten to the point where she's rude to the vendors I'm meeting with, but she gets really upset when I don't take her to meetings since she's the maid of honor. So I'm at the point where I just want to cut her out of the wedding, like I should have done in the first place. However, when I confessed this to a mutual friend, my friend let me know to be careful because Jess can be really vindictive. When she found out her ex from a few years ago was getting married, she tried to contact the bride and tell her he was cheating on her. He wasn't. Also, one of her previous besties was fired from her job because Jess made multiple email accounts and regularly contacted customer service complaining about her. And since she knows so much information about my wedding already, I'm really terrified that she'll somehow try to sabotage it. So basically, I don't know what to do at this point. I feel like this wedding is getting away from me, but I also don't know if it'd be less painful to keep her a part of it, because it would save me all the drama. I don't know what she's capable of, so I'm really worried that she'll somehow make something harder for me if I don't just grin and bear it. Help! Oh wow, this girl needs help, OP, and you definitely need her out of your wedding or else there could be some trouble here. I mean, she tried to tank her ex's wedding and she actually got one of her ex-best friends fired. If I was in your position, of course, I'd be scared too because, let's face it, this girl could do anything and just blow up your wedding. But you still need her out. So how do we go about doing that? Well, I'd say that's a multi-front effort. On the wedding planning front, I would talk to all of your vendors and your real maid of honor, your sister, and set passwords. This way you protect the wedding event. Now, how do you protect her making a scene? Well, you need to put somebody on crazy person duty. And that could either be like a chaperone or security, depending on if you still want this girl to be invited to your wedding. If she's invited, then you need somebody as a chaperone, to kind of follow her around so she doesn't make any kind of big scene. And if she's not invited, then you might need security to actually block her from coming into the wedding to make a scene. And the last front would be defusing the bomb, which is actually telling her that you don't want her as a maid of honor. So maybe take her out to brunch or something and tell her that she's just not playing the role of a maid of honor, that she's making your wedding planning hard, and that she's got your best interest at heart, but you need her to either get on board or just become a guest. And what happens after that, either she has a meltdown or she falls in line, is up to her. But you've already protected your wedding, and she's either gonna play along or she's gonna be blocked out. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. Suze Frost says, cut this girl out of your life. Do you want to be on tiptoes for the rest of your wedding planning, your marriage, and your life? Because of this vindictive girl? It's hella rude to nominate yourself as a maid of honor, or even as an invitee to the wedding. Yeesh, and she should have no say over any of your decisions. Kick her out of your wedding, warn your fiancé and family that she may spread rumors, and block her on every form of social media. Also, let all your vendors know that you are the sole contact person and decision maker. You are the only one that can confirm or deny location, time, order, etc. That should hopefully prevent any sabotage on her part. After all that is done, let out a relief breath and enjoy your life without this toxic person. And OP responds, thank you for the advice. I was actually considering the passwords thing, but I don't know if that's taking things too far. I guess I'm kind of worried about vendors resenting me for being high maintenance, but I hear about bridezillas and momzillas and in-law-zillas all the time, so hopefully this isn't the worst they've seen. Jiggle Daddy Dawkins says, Jesus, just tell her, Jess, you knew him for 3 weeks before you married him. What in the ever-loving F did you think was going to happen? If I've only been dating a girl for 3 weeks, I wouldn't even poop with her in a half-a-mile radius. And OP responds, seriously, the week before her wedding, everyone was kindly saying, you sure? You've known him an awfully short time. And her responding, everyone's jealous because they can't be us. Yeah. Angelo Papas says, sounds like you need to have a very uncomfortable talk with this girl. Tell her what you told us here and let her know her negative attitude has no place in planning your wedding. You're sorry things aren't working out for her, but she is not allowed to pile this stuff on you. Tell her that you cannot have her as a maid of honor, and since she seems to think so negatively about marriage, you wouldn't expect her to do this. Up to you if you even let her attend the wedding as a guest. And OP responds, oh my god, I haven't even thought about explaining how her negative attitude towards marriage could be the excuse for not having her in the wedding party. That sounds ridiculously logical, but I've been blinded by a flurry of crazy. Thank you. Deleted says, make a list of things she can ruin if you dump her as a maid of honor. Can you talk to your HR, your family, friends and vendors and boyfriend and tell them that she may try to get revenge? Explore the possibilities and weigh the cons and the pros. If the cons outweigh the pros, lay low and try to make a fade out after the wedding. If it's the other way around, go with a dumping. And don't forget to inform your friends, family, fiancé, and vendors because she can try to cancel your appointments or your venue. Check also if she can ruin your car or if she has keys to your house. Change passwords if you think that she could have access to them. In conclusion, be proactive and paranoid. You can have a brainstorming with your friends and I'm sure they will think of a lot of ways of covering your ass. And Throwaway Hey 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 08 says, I'm going to go old school rom-com style on this and instead of being upfront and adult, maybe make her not want to be your maid of honor? Can you demand she pay for your bachelorette party in Paris? Ask why she hasn't booked the private jet you want for your bridal shower to be on? Take her dress shopping for her maid of honor dress and insist on pasties and hammer pants. Alright, well first of all, I have no idea what a pasty is. I don't know if I read it right, I'm so sorry. But I do know hammer pants and I gotta say, it's hammer time. But anyways, the community gave OP a lot of different angles and options that she should be looking to and apparently OP has a plan. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. But of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with the update. Before I could have a conversation with Jess, she confronted me about it. Apparently, the mutual friend that I had confided in let the whole story leak. But not just that, she told a twisted, more dramatic version, and that version made its way back to Jess. Crap meet fan. Side note, I did confront her about it a few days after the blow-up. Her defense was that she didn't actually tell Jess. She told another mutual friend of ours, who told someone else, who told someone else, who told Jess. So technically, it wasn't her fault. This is how by the time it got to Jess, the story was something along the lines of, "Oh my god, OP's telling everyone you're ruining her life and sabotaging the wedding." Anyway, it was an hour or two of me trying to explain to Jess in a somewhat calm manner that I felt she had overstepped her boundaries and it was really taking a mental toll on me, while she yelled about what a terrible friend I was and how she's tired of putting all of her faith in the wrong people and how she was tired of trying her best to be a good maid of honor. I made the mistake of pointing out that I had never asked her to be my maid of honor in the first place, and she responded with, "Well, then I must be delusional." The first step is admitting that you have a problem, so progress? Needless to say, we aren't on speaking terms. Shortly after that, I took all of your advice and called all of my wedding vendors and let them know that my fiance and I were going to be the only people making any decisions and set up a confirmation word with them. Apparently, this crap happens a lot because nobody even asked why. I accidentally forgot to contact the bakery making our cake, but luckily they called me and asked if I was certain I wanted to cancel the wedding cake. Apparently, there was a voicemail left on their machine. Wonder how that happened. Anyway, here's where things get really nuts. A few weeks after our blow-up, she apparently met some guy who is the love of her life. A few weeks after that, they're engaged. I can't make this crap up. She did it again. Then our mutual friends get invitations for her wedding, which is on the same date as mine. But since they had RSVP'd for my wedding, a lot of them couldn't make it. Then, a few days before her wedding, they had to cancel because he's already married, and you know what? So is she! I guess she never got officially divorced from that first quickie wedding, so as far as I know, no wedding actually happened. I have no idea if they still plan to. I'm just glad to be away from that circus. I do suspect she was never going to really get married, but since she's done it before, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually went through with it. I'm assuming they were both trying to get divorced before the wedding and realized they wouldn't be able to in time because, you know, some stuff takes time and can't be erased in a jiffy, so they couldn't do it. I get the feeling this guy is either really stupid or just as crazy as she is, so at least they found each other. Honestly, I'm just glad she's out of my life. It was dramatic for a while, but as long as my life is back to normal, I'm not complaining at all. But anyways, I got married a few weeks ago. Everything was wonderful, the weather was great, and everyone present was a joy to be around. Except maybe my uncle, who gets a little too dancey when he's drunk. But still, middle-aged uncle dancing feverishly to Uptown Funk by himself in the middle of the dance floor. Best video ever. I do have to say, mea culpa. I've always been super wary of girls who have a new bestie every few months, but this one crept up on me with all of her tragedy. Well, you know what they say, hindsight is 20/20. Lesson learned. I will be actively practicing caution when making friends, by running from crazy right away. Also, I've decided to distance myself from that whole gossipy crowd. We're at different points in our lives and I just don't find gossiping all that fun. My real besties from high school, who were all bridesmaids, have all grown up and we would never pull this crap. Thank you to everyone who responded and to everyone letting me know that I'm not helping matters by going with the flow. OP's PS. Thanks for the warning about not letting my guard down just yet. I was going to say, nah, she'd never do anything illegal, but there was this one time she got really drunk, crashed her car into a building and walked away. She just straight up left her car there overnight until authorities came knocking. I do live in a fairly secure apartment complex with around-the-clock security, so I don't feel too threatened, but I will be very cautious. Alright, well, I guess it's a crazy but happy update. Hopefully Jess takes some time to work on herself and, get to a better place, but it's not your responsibility, OP. All you need to do is just enjoy your newly married life. So here's wishing you and your husband, OP, the best in the future. Take care and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Throwaway and a lot of numbers. I, 28 male, overheard my fiance, 27 female, say to her best friend that the only people she really cares about are her siblings and parents and that everyone else is background. I confronted her about it and she says I have no reason to be upset. Background. I met my fiancée Rosa a few years ago in college. We hit it off immediately and started dating in our senior year of college and have been together for a little over 5 years now. I proposed to her a few months ago, she accepted, and we're getting married this summer. She's wonderful, the smartest, funniest, and prettiest woman in the room wherever she goes. By far the most important person in my life. Rosa is Middle Eastern and told me from the beginning that she's very family oriented. Her best friend Sonia is of the same ethnic origin, and the pair have been friends since they were kids. One night, Rosa was at my house when Sofia called saying she was upset about something in her family. So I told my fiancé that she should invite her friend over and they could talk. Sofia came over, I greeted her, then went upstairs to go to bed. I was pretty tired anyways. About half an hour later, I came downstairs to get water when I heard my fiancé saying something to Sofia along the lines of, "Yeah, I mean honestly, the only people I really care about are my parents and brothers. I couldn't live without them. Everyone else is in the background." It hurt a lot. Especially the way she said it. Not even in a malicious way, just in a "this is how it is" way. As though there's no debate because truly no one else matters. Her best friend, who would also be categorized as background by that logic, agreed and said she also viewed her immediate family as her top priority. But her best friend isn't in a long-term relationship where she's engaged to be married. I went upstairs and couldn't sleep. When Rosa came back, I told her what I overheard and that it hurt me. She responded with, "I'm not gonna lie to you, my parents or brothers come first. I promise you, once we are married and build a life together, then you and our kids will come first. But those feelings aren't something we can force." I didn't say anything to her after she said that, but took my pillow to go sleep in another room. She didn't follow me or make any effort to show that she cared, even though I do that for her whenever she is upset. When I brought it up the next day, she repeated what she said before. I know I can't force her to feel anything, and I wouldn't want to have to force her to love me more than anyone else, but if you asked me who my number one person is, I would say her in a heartbeat. Am I unreasonable when I say I want my future wife to love me as much as I love her? Well, OP, I agree with you. It doesn't sound unreasonable to me, but I can understand why it would be unreasonable to her, and the thing is that you and her have a different definition of what family-oriented really is. From the way you write your post, I believe that you think family-oriented would mean that you and Rosa are the center and the nucleus of your family. You both have equal say and vote, and you work together as a team. Of course, you can rely on family members and friends for help, but the main decisions are made by the two of you together. And from the way that she describes being family-oriented, it's not the nucleus couple, it's the whole family, and apparently it's generations of family. And this is a very tricky scenario for a couple. If you guys do not agree what family-oriented means, then this will bug you because you're going to feel like her family is in your face the whole time, and she's gonna feel like you're trying to drive her away from her family. So OP, if you do want your marriage to work, this is something that you guys need to talk about and need to compromise or agree on. And if it is an irreparable difference, then I suggest you see it as a deal breaker, OP, or else you're gonna be really miserable, and so will she. And what do you guys think about this whole thing? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Deleted says, "Oh man, my soon-to-be ex-wife's family came first always. We dated, we got married, parents still in the picture being number one. Then the children came. I just moved down the ladder, but her family always came first or close second to the kids. In my experience, red flags with brothers, sisters, parents already so high up. It doesn't change. Even if she tells you this, wait till after kids, you will feel like the fifth wheel." Sonofaresi says, "It's dangerous to go into a marriage hoping for a change that will make you happy. That's all I have to say." And Mrs. Squirry says, "I'm not seeing this in other commentators, so I'll say it. This is a recipe for horrible in-laws. If there's an argument, and there will be, her family will win. She will say, 'But mom and dad make sense,' or something like that. Also, when she says you and the future kids will move up the ladder, she means the kids. They will be her new priority. She might have labeled you in her mind as not as important since you two were just dating, so it could change now. But if you don't see it before marriage, I'd suggest bail or be okay being secondary." Alright, well, the community wasn't beating around the bush and they were telling OP loud and clear, "OP, this is a red flag for the relationship." So how about we move on to the update to see what OP did and how this story ends. Rosa and I talked the next day over dinner. The very brief summary of the conversation is something like this. You are without a doubt my number one, but I am not for you. That's not something I can get over. I promise, once we marry, get a home together, have children, all of that, truly build a life together, you and our children will be my number one. What about your family? Oh, they're number one too. You would be equal. Here's the thing, Rosa isn't wrong at all. Love isn't a competition and family is very important. That being said, we simply have two different viewpoints on life. I want to have my own family, love them above everything else, and know that my wife and I are loving partners who don't have anyone else who comes even remotely close to that love. That's what I want. Maybe it's the stereotypical too independent American viewpoint, and if it is, then I'm okay with that. It's just as valid as her conservative traditional Middle Eastern perspective. I just realized in that conversation that I don't want to have to spend my entire life fighting for my wife's love. There's only one of me, but on the other side there is her mom, her dad, two brothers, a cousin she considers to be a sister, and a bevy of extended family. What happens when the one person she loves disagrees with 10 plus people she loves just as much? I lose every time. I don't have much family in the area. Our future children would be accepted and enveloped with Rosa's family. Again, it's one person versus 10 plus people. At the end of the day, Rosa, her family, and our future children will be ethnic Jordanians, while I'm still just the white guy who married Rosa. She's already told me that her aunts and uncles aren't big fans of me because, well, you know. And I don't think that will magically change once we get married. I plan on breaking it off with Rosa tomorrow over lunch. I'm nervous just thinking about it and remembered this post, so thought I would give you all an update. Well, OP, it might not be an extremely happy update, but it is a positive one. I think this decision is the best decision for you and Rosa together. So here's wishing you all the best in the future, OP, and thank you so much for sharing. Take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.